You spend 2 hours wrestling with an Allen key, half the screws go missing, and the shelf ends up slightly crooked. And yet somehow, you love that shelf more than one you could have just bought ready-made. That's not you being weird. That's a real, well-documented psychological effect, and it has a name. It's called the IKEA effect. It describes our tendency to overvalue things we built ourselves, even when they're objectively worse than something professionally made. The name comes from the flat-pack furniture giant, because researchers noticed this pattern especially clearly when people assembled their own furniture at home. The term was coined in 2011 by researchers Michael Norton, Daniel Mochin, and Dan Ariely. They ran a series of experiments where people built things themselves: cardboard storage boxes, origami figures, and small Lego sets. And then researchers asked them to put a price on their own creations. Here's the twist. Some participants built the objects themselves. Others were simply shown an identical, already finished version made by someone else. Then everyone was asked the same question: how much would you pay for this? The results weren't even close. People who built their own object were willing to pay significantly more for it than people who were just handed the same object ready-made. Even more surprising, the builders rated their own, often clumsy creations as being just as good as ones built by professionals.
So why does effort make us love something more? Psychologists call part of this effort justification. The more work you pour into something, the more your brain wants to believe that work was worthwhile. Undervaluing your own effort would basically mean admitting you wasted your time. But there's more to it than just justifying effort. Researchers found a second ingredient: competence. Successfully completing a task, even a small one like assembling a shelf, gives us a real sense of "I did that" and "I'm capable." That feeling of confidence gets attached to the object itself. Here's where it gets interesting, though. The researchers also tested what happens when people build something and then it gets destroyed, or when they fail to finish it. In both cases, the IKEA effect completely disappeared. Love for the object only shows up when the labor actually leads to success. And this isn't limited to people who are good with their hands. The effect showed up just as strongly in complete beginners as it did in experienced do-it-yourselfers. You don't need to be skilled for this bias to kick in. You just need to finish the thing. Once you know this effect exists, you start noticing.
Businesses figured this out fast. That's part of why IKEA's flat pack model works so well, and why meal kit companies have you chop your own vegetables instead of delivering a finished dish. Making the customer do a little bit of the work makes them value the end result more. But this bias has a darker side too. At work, people often fall in love with their own ideas, projects, or strategies simply because they put effort into building them, not because they're actually the best option. Teams can end up defending a weak plan just because someone worked hard on it. So how do you catch yourself doing this? The simplest fix researchers point to is outside perspective. Before deciding something you built is genuinely good, get an honest opinion from someone who had zero part in creating it. Distance from your own effort tends to reveal the truth. Underneath all of this is a simple truth about how humans form value. We don't just judge things by what they are, we judge them by what it cost us to make them. Ownership isn't only about possession, it's about the labor, the identity, and the little piece of ourselves we put into something. So to sum it up, we overvalue what we build because of effort justification and a need to feel competent. That value disappears if the task fails or gets destroyed. It works for beginners and experts alike, and companies now design entire business models around it. So next time you're weirdly attached to something wobbly, imperfect, and entirely handmade by you, remember, that attachment isn't irrational. It's one of the oldest tricks your brain plays to make effort feel meaningful. And honestly, maybe that crooked shelf deserves the love after all.